Hello everyone, it's James Aroni, and I know this isn't Moe's, it's the end of the world. James Aroni isn't using Moe's, and he's using Amara. Holy hell, I know. But, I've been a huge fan of Melee Amara builds since the day this game came out. They kind of fell out of the meta a little bit, and then Mayhem 2.0 completely killed them. And now with melee damage scaling and also being improved with Guardian rank and things like that, Melee Amara is so much fun, and so I decided to tackle it and make my own Melee Amara build that's a bit different, but works very well. I've done True Guardian Takedown with this, so I'll show you some clips of me killing several bosses and things like that with it, but yeah. And also, I'm going to give a shout out to Birdman778, I'll link him down in the description. A really good friend of mine, a fellow Borderlands 3 content creator. He made his One For All Amara build, which was a melee build as well, and he follows more thematic builds, while mine are basically just throwing stuff together, but his build very much inspired me to actually go ahead and take that step and make the Slamara, as I'm calling this. So shout out to Birdman. Definitely check him out. He's a funny dude, and he loves to create stuff with his community in Borderlands, so he's awesome. Anyway, to the build. We're gonna start with gear because there's not too much gear here. You're gonna rock basically the face puncher. You can use redundant for more damage, or if you would like to have more ammo sustainability, then I wouldn't recommend using redundant. But yeah, you'll be reloading it a lot if you are using redundant. This is really the only weapon I use for everything with the Phaseslam weapon damage anointment. You can use other anointments and things like 200% melee damage Phaseslam if you're not using the same anointment on your shield, and then butt plug with high health breaker is really good if you can manage to get behind the enemy and actually melee them from behind. Quest rewards and things like that scale now in Mayhem, so the butt plug is viable in later Mayhem levels with melee damage and things like that. And if you find that your melee damage bonuses have ran out and you can't use your action skill yet, a high health breaker face puncher helps too. That 300% weapon damage on full health enemies is giving you the same amount of damage that your Phaseslam anointment would for your face puncher. So yeah, I also have the Psycho Stabber in here because COV is the highest melee damage bonus you can get out of any manufacturer, capping it on 120%. And really you can use any COV pistol, but I figured the Psycho Stabber kind of fell in line with the theme a little bit more of meleeing stuff, so yeah. Although this build doesn't really focus on actual melee, like, you know, V or whatever, or your actual melee. A lot of the damage is coming from your face puncher, and also the fish slap. Now you can just normally melee, it'll still do tons of damage, but you'll notice a lot more damage with your face puncher. For the shield, level 1 Brawler Ward. When the shield is depleted, you'll get 25% weapon damage and 300% melee damage. If you have both Roid augments on it, it can drop 80% melee damage when depleted as well. So, but Brawler Wards are pretty common. There's ways on PC and console to get it at level 1. The reason we want it at level 1 is because that low cap is going to make it easier for the shield to be depleted, thus giving us our 300% melee damage bonus. You can use a shooting star as well. I didn't really care for it. It works better with something like Moxie's melee build, where you are phase grasping stuff more. But this is a Phaseslam one, and I wanted to use Phaseslam on purpose just to make it different. And so I think this fits it better with that anointment. Fish slap. Now I know it's 57, and you can't get a Mayhem level fish slap because it's out of the game now. I know, but if you can find a fish slap that someone has lying around, or that, you know, maybe trade, or you have it, with at least one Reuter augment on it, I promise you this grenade is still amazing because it pulls from melee damage. So, while the actual damage value of the fish slap was not scaled, because it does melee damage, and your character's melee damage scales in Mayhem, this thing still does work in Mayhem. Absolutely. Especially with a melee build. It would probably do decent damage even without a melee build. But definitely don't be upset that it's 57 and that it's not mayhem. It'll still crush. Now, for the artifact, there's not too many options, but there is. I don't really care for Atom Bomb, but radiation damage is good for mobbing because of the explosions from the stickies and the white elephant. But I like the stone prefix, just adding that bonus elemental damage, especially if it matches with your action skill augment or action skill element. It's really good. So, you know, just throw whatever element you want in there. If you want to freeze some enemies, you know, you could use cryo. If you're going after armor, throw on corrosive. Basically, just any stone element. White elephant. White elephant's pretty important because those stickies, they're going to do a ton of damage. And if you're using your face puncher, then you have 14 pellets that have a chance to land that sticky. Very helpful. Other options could be cut purse prefix, you know, to regen ammo because, well, Guardian Takedown is almost a necessity, and it's just sometimes you might just need it because you are using just one gun, basically. And a knife drain because it can't hurt. Obviously, you're going to lose some damage if you throw the knife drain on, but if you feel like you need more survivability, it's there, and I would definitely recommend getting it for the sake of possibly needing it. Unleash the Dragon as well, not my favorite. It does help, especially if you're going against flesh enemies, but the sticky damage that comes from the white elephant I found was more, but if you want to experiment with that, I think it's more viable now than ever, so go right ahead. Another option for the shield that I don't, or an augment, or anointment rather, is the Phaseslam damage reduction and movement speed. So you're going to lose that melee damage bonus after phase slamming, but because of all the bonuses we already have, you're actually not missing out on as much damage as you think. So if you want to shoot for more survivability, which I do in things like Malawan Takedown, like the bridge area and Wotan, I recommend getting this anointment because it does actually really help with survivability. And for the comm, Golden Rule. Now, I'm not going to pat myself on the back or anything, but I haven't really seen too many people use this comm, which made me sad because I kind of like the idea behind it. So, for those of you that might not know what the Golden Rule does, because let's be honest, Phasezerker and Driver kind of dominate the meta for Amara. Whenever an enemy damages Amara, she gains increased action skill cooldown rate for a few seconds. This affects stacks. Now, this doesn't sound amazing, but it is because if we're taking tons of damage, we can constantly use Phase Slam to keep our melee damage up, because using Phase Slam gives us 200% melee damage here, it gives us our 300% weapon damage here, it gives us our 50% elemental bonus damage on our grenade, and it also procs a few skills. So that's very helpful. A good roll would be 2 in Helping Hand and 3 in Laid Bare, because Laid Bare gives us 25% damage target softening on enemies that are hit by your action skill, which also counts for your augment. And then Helping Hands is damage reduction, and because of what how we're using our shield, damage reduction is very important. We are a little bit glassy, but with this damage reduction and also just generally like having sustainment and more max health, it helps with that a little bit. So I definitely recommend Golden Rule. I have what I think is the best roll, but I don't know if action skill damage is really all too helpful because we're not doing too much damage directly with Phase Slam. So maybe you could find a different passive for that, but I figured I'd throw it on there just because, you know, it might help stillness of mind. Now over to the skill trees. We're not going too far into blue. You can put 5 out of 5 and do harm if you want. I put 2 points in Fast Hands because you'll be reloading the Face Puncher a lot if you have the redundant prefix. You get about 3 shots out of it if you don't proc Dread. So yeah, you're going to be reloading that gun a lot. So I figured I would get some reload speed to kind of, you know, increase the DPS so you spend less time reloading. And 5 out of 5 in Restless. For 2 reasons. One, again, action skill cooldown is important. You want to get Phase Slam back as quick as possible so you can keep proccing all the elemental bonus damage and action skill and bonuses, and for stillness of mind. Now when you Phase Slam, you will be able to grab enemies like Phase Grasp and they'll be chained together. That helps with dealing damage to them because we have the target softening from Laid Bare down here. And also because if enemies are grasped, they're not shooting you, so that actually helps with survivability. Down into Red Tree, I still don't know if 5 out of 5 in anima and 0 out of 5 is good for infusion for this or not, but I didn't notice a massive difference either way. So however you want to do, if you are not using as many elements, it might be a better idea to use infusion just to get another element in there. 5 out of 5 on Tempest because shock damage is huge to this, elemental damage is huge to every build for Amara. Tempest kind of speaks for itself at this point. Illuminated Fist because we want melee damage, of course. And also a big part of this is your melee damage is converted to action skill element, so either shock, corrosive, or incendiary, you'll get your melee damage in. Wildfire, kind of just to move down the tree at this point, but it does help if you, you know, are just mobbing, and also you have indiscriminate, spreading status effect to other enemies. It's not major for this, but it does kind of help. Dread is actually very good in this. Like I said, Dread actually works with Stillness of Mind, so if you can phase slam and get those enemies locked in Stillness of Mind, shoot them and kill them, Dread can actually proc and refill your mag, which in the heat of the moment in Guardian Takedown helped me a couple times. I don't really have to explain Indiscriminate, but yeah, it definitely doesn't work as well with this as it would your like Ricochet Witch builds and whatnot, but it still helps. You'll notice that if you shoot enemies in Stillness of Mind, that the few of them will die. And Sustainment, it's amazing. It's lifesteal like crazy. Don't need to say anything further. And finally, Green Tree. Max health is huge. Huge. Increasing your max health helps Sustainment kind of give you more health. And just, you know, if you have more health, you're harder to kill. Science, people. Personal Space, very good skill. Gives you actually a massive damage bonus when you're close to enemies. And you're using a melee build, so combined with using Blitz, where you can just dash to an enemy and then hit them. Really good. 5 out of 5 on arms deal because of the stickies from White Elephant does splash, so that actually increases the damage for the stickies. Max Samsara because it just kind of helps with gun damage, and health regen is fantastic. Gun damage doesn't really get our bonus here because Face Puncher shoots melee damage. The only bonuses that Face Puncher can get are weapon and melee damage. So gun damage is if your gun shoots gun damage. This doesn't, it shoots melee damage. So we're not really benefiting from the gun damage here. However, the health regeneration is massive. 5 out of 5, well, 7 out of 5 because of our Calm and Helping Hands for damage reduction. Again, huge. This build can still be pretty glassy, so this helps very much. You're going to basically be able to use Phaseslam about every 15 seconds anyway, so you'll keep that up a lot. Mindfulness and Vigor to just kind of move down the tree a bit, but getting those extra speed stacks from taking damage and using your action skill, killing with your action skill, which Stillness of Mind counts for Vigor. They help, you know. They're not amazing, especially with only 1 point in each, but, you know, we're moving down the tree, and they really do benefit. Find your center. So, I was working with the, I think the Dragon Calm, or the Breaker, and this is great to have 2 out of 1 in, but for this build, I think it's fine to just keep it with the 1 point and use the Golden Rule instead. Obviously, 100% increased melee damage is amazing, and you get more range after using your action skill, and when you combine that with Blitz, it's insane. Guardian Angel, again, because of how glassy this build can be at times, it's very useful to have Guardian Angel. That free second wind will get you out of a lot of sticky situations. And then Blitz is optional, really. I don't really use it too much. Sometimes I use it just to get enemies that are flying, just to help me lock onto them. Sometimes I use it just because it's fun, or maybe there's like a schismatic blowing up behind me and I use it to get out of there. There's a couple uses for it, but we're not really, you know, actually meleeing here. We're using the Face Puncher for most of our damage, so don't really see this as necessary. If you want, you can throw this point anywhere else, but I like being able to dash with it to get out of certain situations. So yeah, that's the build. I'll show you a couple boss kills at the end here, and I will throw the save file down below in the description. Be sure to like, subscribe, tell me I'm beautiful in the comments, and I'll tell you that you're beautiful. and you guys have a fantastic day. James Aroni signing the hell off. YEET.
Yeah.